Starting your day with intention changes everything. The difference between people who experience breakthrough and those who don't often comes down to one simple practice. They invite God into their day before the day invites chaos into them. A powerful morning prayer isn't about perfect words or religious performance. It's about alignment. It's about positioning yourself to receive favor, protection, and the kind of breakthrough that feels impossible until it suddenly isn't. Think about what happens when you wake up without this practice. Your phone buzzes. Your mind immediately fills with problems. You're reacting to the day instead of creating it. You're vulnerable to every distraction, every negative thought, every circumstance that pulls you away from your purpose. But when you start with prayer, you're doing something radically different. You're establishing authority over your day before the day establishes authority over you. This is why the most successful people across every field, business, athletics, creativity, relationships, they all have some version of a morning spiritual practice. They understand that external success flows from internal alignment, and that alignment happens first thing before anything else gets a chance to misalign you. A powerful morning prayer does 4 essential things. First, it grounds you in gratitude, not the surface level kind. Real gratitude that rewires your brain to see opportunity instead of obstacles. Second, it invites God's presence into your specific circumstances, not generic blessings, but targeted favor for the exact situations you're facing today. Third, it establishes protection. It creates a spiritual boundary between you and the negativity, the manipulation, the drain that's always looking for an opening. And fourth, it opens the door for breakthrough. It positions you to recognize and receive the solutions, connections, and opportunities that are already available but invisible until you're aligned to see them. The prayer we're about to walk through isn't something you memorize and recite robotically. It's a template, a framework you personalize with your own words, your own situation, your own specific requests. Because God doesn't want generic prayers. He wants your prayers, the ones that come from your real life, your real struggles, your real hopes. What makes this different from prayers you might have tried before is the structure. It follows a rhythm that actually works with how your mind and spirit operate. It moves from acknowledgement to gratitude to specific request to declaration to protection. Each section builds on the last. By the time you finish, you're not just hoping for a good day. You're operating from a completely different frequency. The timing matters too. This works best in those quiet minutes before the world wakes up, before your email loads, before anyone needs anything from you. Even 10 minutes of uninterrupted connection will shift your entire day. But if you only have 5 minutes, 5 minutes of real intention beats no minutes of distraction. What you're about to learn isn't theory. Thousands of people have tested this exact prayer structure and reported tangible shifts, better decisions, unexpected opportunities, conflicts that resolved themselves, protection from situations they didn't even see coming, relationships that healed, work breakthroughs that seemed impossible, not because magic happened, but because they positioned themselves differently. In the next section, we're going to break down the actual prayer, word by word. You'll learn exactly how to structure each part, what to focus on, and how to make it resonate with your specific life. You'll have a complete prayer you can use immediately tomorrow morning. So let's talk about why structure matters in the first place. When you pray, without intention, without framework, your mind wanders. You're asking for things, but you're not really present. You're going through motions. Structure changes that. It gives your prayer architecture. It gives your brain something to hold on to. Think about it like building a house. You don't just throw materials at the ground and hope it stands. You need a foundation, walls, a roof. Prayer works the same way. When you have a clear sequence, a logical flow from one element to the next, something shifts inside you. Your words carry more weight. Your faith feels more solid. The prayer we're going to walk through has 5 core movements. Each one serves a specific purpose. The first movement is acknowledgement. You're recognizing who God is and what He's already done in your life. This isn't flattery. This is alignment. When you start by acknowledging His presence and His power, you're positioning yourself correctly. You're not approaching Him from a place of demand. You're approaching from a place of relationship. The second movement is confession. Now, this doesn't mean you need to list every mistake you've ever made. It means you're honest about where you are right now. You're acknowledging the gaps between who you want to be and who you actually are. There's power in that honesty. It clears the air. It removes the barrier between you and what you're asking for. The third movement is petition. This is where you actually ask. This is where you name what you need. Protection for your family. Wisdom for a decision you're facing. Breakthrough in an area where you've been stuck. Healing. Direction. Whatever it is, you say it clearly. You don't whisper it or apologize for it. You speak it with conviction. The fourth movement is intercession. This is where you stop asking for yourself and you start asking for others. You pray for people in your life. You pray for situations beyond your control. You pray for the world. This shifts something in your spirit. It moves you out of self-focus and into something larger. And here's what happens when you do this regularly. You start to see answers, not just in your own life, but in the lives around you. You become part of something bigger. The fifth movement is thanksgiving. You're closing by expressing gratitude, not just for what you're asking for, but for what you already have. For breath, for another day, for the people who love you, for the strength you've been given. Gratitude is the frequency that opens doors. When you end your prayer in a state of thankfulness, you're not leaving that prayer space anxious or doubtful. You're leaving it anchored in abundance. Now, here's what makes this different from generic prayers you might find online. Each of these movements is going to be customized to your actual life, your actual struggles, your actual hopes. That's what makes it stick. That's what makes it work. So when you pray for protection, you're not just saying words into the void. You're identifying the specific threats you face. Maybe it's anxiety that creeps in during your workday. Maybe it's relationships that feel fragile. Maybe it's financial pressure that keeps you awake at night. Name it. Say it out loud in your prayer. Because God already knows. But you need to know that you know. There's power in naming what you're asking Him to guard you against. Then you move into breakthrough. And this is where most people get stuck. They think breakthrough means some massive, instantaneous shift. A job offer appears. A diagnosis disappears. A relationship heals overnight. But breakthrough often looks smaller than that at first. It's the courage to have a conversation you've been avoiding. It's the clarity to see a problem differently. It's the persistence to try one more time when you've already failed twice. These are breakthroughs. They're the opening moves that lead somewhere bigger. Here's the structure that actually works. You start by acknowledging who God is, not in a formal, stiff way, but genuinely recognizing His presence, His power, His character. That centers you. It reminds you that you're not praying to the universe or to yourself. You're talking to someone real. Then you confess, not because you need to list every mistake, but because you're clearing the space between you and God. You're saying, I'm not pretending to be perfect. I'm coming as I actually am. This honesty opens the door. It removes the barrier that shame builds. After that comes gratitude. And I mean specific gratitude. Not just being thankful in general. Thank God for the person who believed in you. Thank Him for the obstacle that taught you something. Thank Him for the small win yesterday that you almost didn't notice. Gratitude shifts your brain from scarcity to abundance. It's not just nice, it's neurologically real. Then, you make your requests. You ask for favor. You ask for protection. You ask for breakthrough. But you're asking from a place of alignment, not desperation. You've already acknowledged who God is. You've already confessed. You've already given thanks. Now you're asking from a position of partnership, not begging. And here's what changes everything. You're doing this every single morning. Before your phone, before the news, before the day has a chance to pull you in 100 directions. You're starting from center. You're starting from truth. You're starting from a conversation with God about what actually matters. The reason this works is because it rewires your default setting. Most people wake up and immediately go into reaction mode. Something stresses them, they react. Something disappoints them, they react. But if you've already spent 15 minutes in prayer, establishing your foundation, you have a different baseline. You have resilience built in. You have perspective already in place. This isn't about being more religious. It's about being more grounded, more intentional, more connected to something larger than your circumstances. And that connection changes how you move through your day. So when you pray in the morning, you're not asking for permission to be successful. You're not begging for things you don't deserve. You're actually resetting your nervous system to operate from a place of abundance instead of scarcity. Your brain has spent all night processing threats, fears, uncertainties. It wakes up in that state. Prayer interrupts that pattern. Think about what happens physiologically. When you slow down and speak words of intention, your breathing deepens. Your heart rate stabilizes. The cortisol spike that comes with waking up gets regulated. You're not doing this through willpower or discipline. You're doing it through the simple act of turning your attention somewhere beyond your immediate anxiety. That's the mechanism. That's why it works. And here's what most people miss. The specific words matter less than the consistency. You could use traditional prayers passed down through centuries. Key: you could use your own words spoken into the quiet of your bedroom. What matters is that you're doing it daily, that you're showing up to it, that you're treating it like an appointment you don't cancel. Because what you're actually building is a habit of receptivity. You're training your mind to listen for guidance instead of just generating noise. When you invite God's favor into your day, you're not manipulating cosmic forces. You're making a declaration about what you're open to receiving. You're saying yes to opportunity before it arrives. You're positioning yourself to notice the breakthrough when it shows up, because it will show up. But if your mind is scattered and reactive, you'll miss it. You'll walk right past the conversation that changes everything. You'll ignore the door that opens. You'll dismiss the person who could help you. Protection works the same way. When you pray for protection, you're not asking God to build a wall around you that prevents all difficulty. Life isn't designed that way. What you're actually doing is asking for wisdom, asking to see danger before you walk into it, asking to make decisions from clarity instead of desperation, asking to recognize which battles are yours to fight and which ones you should walk away from. That kind of protection is immediate and practical. The breakthrough piece is where people get stuck. They pray for breakthrough, and then they wait passively. But a breakthrough requires you to be moving. It requires you to be taking action, learning, growing, positioning yourself. Prayer doesn't replace effort. It directs effort. It aligns your effort with something larger than your ego's agenda. So you're not grinding just to prove something. You're not hustling from a place of fear. You're moving with intention because you've already connected to the source of what you need. This is why the morning matters most. You're setting the tone before the world starts making demands, before your phone lights up with messages, before other people's urgencies become your urgencies. You're claiming that first hour, that first 30 minutes, that first 10 minutes, if that's all you have. You're saying this time belongs to alignment, not reaction. and everything that follows moves differently because of it. The same challenges will come, but you'll meet them from a different place. You'll have access to something you didn't have before. You'll be operating from the baseline you established on your knees. You'll be operating from the baseline you established on your knees. That's the real power here. Not magic, not wishful thinking, but a genuine shift in your internal operating system. When you pray with intention every morning, you're not asking God to rearrange the world around you. You're asking Him to realign you within it, to position you so that when opportunity arrives, you're already facing the right direction. When temptation shows up, you've already built resistance. When fear whispers, you've already got a counter-narrative running underneath. This is why consistency matters so much. One prayer changes your day. A week of prayers changes your week. A month changes how you see yourself. 3 months in, people around you start noticing something different. Not because your circumstances magically transformed, but because you transformed. Your responses got clearer. Your decisions got sharper. Your peace got deeper. The breakthrough you're waiting for isn't just external. It's internal first. God's favor doesn't bypass struggle. It equips you to move through it with wisdom instead of panic. Protection doesn't mean nothing bad happens. It means you're covered when it does. And you know you're covered. That knowledge changes everything. So, here's what I want you to do. Don't wait for the perfect moment to start. Don't wait until your life feels stable enough, or your faith feels strong enough. Start tomorrow morning. Set your alarm 10 minutes earlier if you have to. Find a quiet corner. Get on your knees or sit in a chair, whatever works for you, and pray, not perfectly, not eloquently, just honestly. Tell God what you need. Tell Him what you're afraid of. Tell Him what you're hoping for. Ask Him to align you. Ask Him to protect you. Ask Him to open doors that only He can open. Then listen. Not for a booming voice. Just listen to what settles in your chest. Do this every single morning for 30 days. Not because I'm telling you to, because you're worth it. Your life is worth it. The people depending on you are worth it. After 30 days, you won't need me to convince you anymore. You'll feel the difference yourself. You'll notice you're calmer. You're making better choices. You're recognizing God's hand in things you would have missed before. And you'll want to keep going. That's when the real work begins. That's when it stops being a practice and becomes your life. Start tomorrow. Your breakthrough is waiting on the other side of consistency.